California Governor Gavin Newsom is suing Fox News. Newsom announced the almost billion-dollar suit on X today, saying, "No more lies. I'm suing Fox News for $787 million. The California governor's lawsuit alleges the network defamed him and accuses it of misrepresenting a call President Trump claimed to have had with Newsom. Joining me now is the Hill's White House columnist Niall Stanage with more details on the allegations. Niall, this $787 million suit mirrors the amount Fox agreed to pay Dominion Voting Systems after being accused of defamation. Can you tell us more about this phone call at the heart of this lawsuit?
Yeah, so basically what is at the heart of this lawsuit is Fox's editing of a clip of President Trump in which it left out the words "a day ago," thus removing the specific timing that Trump had talked about on a phone call. The reason this is significant briefly is it goes back to the whole debate about deploying the National Guard to Los Angeles. There was an earlier phone call between Trump and Newsom, which Newsom had publicly acknowledged.
Hello everyone, Adam is here. So, what just happened, guys? Gavin Newsom's $787 million defamation lawsuit against Fox News just survived Fox's attempt to kill it, with a Delaware judge refusing to dismiss the case. Discovery is now moving forward, depositions are coming, and Fox's damning internal emails, the same kind that destroyed them in the Dominion case.
Then when Trump made these remarks about calling him a day ago, at a later point, Newsom said that call didn't happen. And Fox said Newsom was lying when he said that it didn't happen. It doesn't appear that he was lying. He was drawing a distinguishing mark between the timing that Trump had cited and an earlier phone call which he, Newsom, had already acknowledged took place.
In order to prove defamation, Newsom must show that Fox acted with actual malice. It seems like that could be up for interpretation, especially if they claim they're just reporting what President Trump is saying publicly. What's your take?
I think defamation is generally difficult to prove for a public figure, and obviously Gavin Newsom's a very...
Are heading back into public view. Let me set the stage because the details here matter enormously. This lawsuit was filed by Gavin Newsom in the Superior Court of Delaware, and the choice of venue tells you everything you need to know about the confidence behind this case. Newsom could have sued in California, his home turf, where he might have expected a more sympathetic environment.
Public figure. But in relation to the defence that you posited, Judy, the idea that they're just reporting what the president says, I would imagine Newsom's counter to that would be they didn't in fact exactly report what the president said. They clipped out that phrase "a day ago" that he used to try, Newsom would argue, to try to make it seem like Trump was saying something slightly different to what he actually said.
In the lawsuit, Newsom's lawyers argue that Fox misleadingly edited a video of Trump to support the claim that the California governor lied about his phone call with the president, as you mentioned, Niall. This suit seems eerily similar to Trump's lawsuit against 60 Minutes, does it not?
In the 60 Minutes case, Trump was making the argument that they had deceptively edited an interview with Kamala Harris.
Instead, his legal team marched directly into Fox's backyard. Delaware is where Fox News is incorporated. It is their legal home. And Newsom's lawyers essentially said, "We are so certain of our case that we will fight you on your own soil." In Delaware, civil cases seeking monetary damages go to the Superior Court, and that is exactly where this landed, in front of Judge Lugg.
The defence that was proffered by 60 Minutes is that they were simply condensing things for time purposes. In the 60 Minutes case, to give a personal opinion, it seems to me that they were simply just engaging in normal journalistic practice. I don't think the edits that they did changed the meaning of what Kamala Harris said in that interview. Newsom's contention here is that a meaning was altered by an edit, and I think that's the differentiation that he would draw.
Democrats have often attacked President Trump for his lawsuits against media companies. Now you have a Democratic governor and possible 2028 presidential frontrunner. He's suing for a similar claim. Does this hurt the party's argument that targeting media companies with lawsuits is just plain wrong?
I'm sure conservatives and people aligned with the Republican Party will make that argument. Again, I think Democrats would say, well, look, we have never been...
This is the same court, by the way, where Dominion Voting Systems filed their historic defamation case, the one that ended with Fox writing a check for $787 million to make the nightmare go away. That figure is not a coincidence. Newsom is seeking the exact same amount, a mirror image of the Dominion settlement, as if to say, you paid that price for lying about voting machines.
100% opposed to anyone suing for defamation ever. I mean, Democrats did not think, for example, that when Dominion Voting Systems sued Fox, that was some threat to democracy. Many of them believed that Dominion had indeed been defamed. So I think a lot depends on the merits of this case. But yes, in the political arena, the argument that you just outlined will certainly be made.
Now, before I let you go, we still haven't seen any response from President Trump. What type of reaction do you think we'll see from the White House?
You know, President Trump and Governor Newsom don't have any love lost between them. I think even though President Trump frequently criticises the media, I don't expect him to be filing a friend of the court brief on behalf of Gavin Newsom. I would imagine that he will perhaps disparage the governor as being too thin-skinned or something.
Now you are going to pay the same price for lying about a sitting governor. The core of this case revolves around a phone call, a single conversation between Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump, and the deliberate, malicious distortion of when that call took place. The undisputed facts are straightforward. On a Friday in early June, Newsom and Trump spoke on the phone for 16 minutes. That date is established and not seriously contested. Multiple news outlets, including Fox itself, reported on the call happening on that Friday. Then, 4 days later, Donald Trump held a press conference at the White House where he was heavily criticizing Governor Newsom's handling of civil unrest in Los Angeles. When a reporter asked Trump when he had last spoken to Newsom, Trump claimed it was a day ago. That would place the call on the 9th, not the 6th. This was not a minor slip of the tongue. The date of that call carried enormous political significance because it framed whether Newsom had been consulted or at least notified right before Trump deployed the National Guard into the streets of California. If the call happened on the 9th, it makes Newsom look complicit, aware, perhaps even approving of the military rollout. If the call happened on the 6th, it destroys that narrative entirely. The timing is everything. Newsom immediately pushed back, publicly stating that the call was on the 6th, not the 9th. And this is where Fox News crossed the line from reporting into defamation. John Roberts, a Fox News correspondent, apparently had contact with Donald Trump aboard Air Force One. Trump showed Roberts a call log, but here is the critical detail. The call log was from the 6th, proving Newsom was telling the truth. Yet Trump, according to the allegations, framed it in a way that made it seem like the call log supported his claim of a conversation on the 9th. Roberts then ran a story accusing Gavin Newsom of lying about the phone call. Not misremembering, not being unclear, but lying. Then Jesse Waters, the primetime host, picked up the baton and sprinted with it. On his show, a Chiron ran beneath the broadcast that explicitly declared Newsom a liar. The words were plastered on the screen for millions of viewers to absorb. Gavin Newsom lies about phone calls with Donald Trump. They did not hedge. They did not soften. They branded him a liar, full stop. Now, Newsom's position is straightforward. He told the truth about the 6th. The media landscape had already reported on the call occurring on the 6th. Fox then took Trump's false claim about the 9th, elevated it, and used it to paint Newsom as fundamentally dishonest. The defamation lies in that branding. The sting of the statement, which is the legal term for how a reasonable viewer would understand the communication, is that Gavin Newsom is a liar who cannot be trusted to tell the truth about something as basic as a phone call. Fox's defense, and you have to appreciate the audacity here, is essentially that the date does not matter. Their argument is that whether the call happened on the 6th or the 9th is irrelevant because the core fact is that a call happened at all. They claim they were simply reporting that Newsom was denying a call took place, and since a call did take place, their reporting was substantially true. But that defense collapses under the slightest scrutiny. The date matters enormously, and Fox knew it. The difference between the 6th and the 9th is the difference between Newsom being blindsided by a military deployment and Newsom being in the loop. The entire political framing of the story depended on that date. Judge Lugg saw through Fox's argument with crystalline clarity. In his ruling, he wrote that the crux of Fox's statement is that Governor Newsom was dishonest, that he lied about not speaking with President Trump. Roberts' response on social media to Newsom's post, clarifying the date, did not indicate when the conversation occurred. Waters' statement questioning why Newsom would lie about speaking with the president also did not specify when the conversation took place. The judge concluded that it is reasonably conceivable, based on the facts in the complaint, that the gist or sting of Fox's statements is that Governor Newsom lied about having ever talked with President Trump, and thus Fox's statements may be reasonably understood to be substantially untrue. This is a devastating finding for Fox. The judge is saying that a reasonable viewer could watch that broadcast, see that chyron, and conclude that Newsom was being called a liar about the entire existence of the call, not just its timing. That is defamation, that is actionable, and that is going to trial. To understand the gravity of this moment, you have to rewind and watch Jesse Waters deliver the segment that is now at the center of a $787 million lawsuit. In a moment of staggering irony, Waters addressed the lawsuit on his own program, attempting to spin his way out of the legal jeopardy he had created for his network. He told his audience that Newsom sued without even asking for a correction first. He claimed he invited Newsom on the show to talk it out man to man, but Newsom declined. Then Waters laid out his version of events. He recounted how Trump said he spoke to Newsom a day before the press conference. He noted that Newsom responded on social media by saying there was no call, not even a voicemail. Waters then admitted something remarkable on air. He said that Fox took Newsom's statement to mean there was no call ever, period, and asked his audience, "Would not you?" Then he revealed that Trump sent John Roberts a screenshot showing that Trump and Newsom did have a call the previous Friday night. Based on that, Waters said he asked why Newsom would lie and claim Trump never called him. But here is where the confession slips out. Waters acknowledged that Newsom says he meant there was no call a day ago, and that Newsom was only arguing about when the call took place, not whether there was a call at all. Waters then admitted that he left out the full clip where Trump said they spoke a day ago because, in his own words, it did not seem relevant. He thought the dispute was about whether there had been a call at all, not when. He said Fox thought Newsom was clear when he said without qualification that there was no call. Then, in a moment of almost comedic self-exoneration, Waters offered an apology of sorts. He said Newsom was not lying, he was just confusing and unclear. Then he snidely suggested that next time, Newsom should just say what he means. Think about what just happened there. Waters admitted on national television that he left out the critical context, the very context that would have vindicated Newsom because he did not think it was relevant. He admitted that the full clip would have made Newsom's position clear, and then he blamed Newsom for the confusion that Fox itself created by stripping away the clarifying detail. That is not just sloppy journalism, that is a roadmap to actual malice. And that brings us to the most critical legal hurdle in this case. Actual malice. Because Gavin Newsom is a public figure, he does not just have to prove that Fox said something false. He has to prove that Fox either knew the statement was false when they made it or acted with reckless disregard for whether it was true or false. This is a high bar, intentionally so, designed to protect robust public debate even when it includes errors. But Judge Lugg has now ruled that Newsom's complaint properly alleges exactly that. The complaint paints a picture of Fox deliberately presenting a false narrative about the phone call to fit their preconceived storyline. It alleges that Fox advanced this falsehood about Newsom out of a desire to harm him politically. The complaint goes further, alleging that Fox harbors ill will toward Newsom and engages in a pattern of employing preconceived false narratives to attack him. The lawyers cited other clips of Jesse Waters targeting Newsom, building a record of animus that supports the inference of actual malice. Judge Lugg, applying the standard that at this early stage in litigation, all facts must be viewed in the light most favorable to the plaintiff, concluded that the amended complaint properly alleges Fox published false information about Governor Newsom with knowledge of the statement's falsity or with a reckless disregard of whether or not it was true. That finding is monumental. It means the case survives the motion to dismiss. It means the allegations of actual malice are sufficiently pleaded to move forward into discovery. And discovery is where the real carnage begins. Discovery means depositions. It means internal emails. It means the full, unvarnished look at what Fox producers, executives, and hosts were saying behind closed doors while they were publicly branding Gavin Newsom a liar. This is the exact process that eviscerated Fox in the Dominion case. Remember how that played out? Dominion sued. Fox moved to dismiss. The case survived. Then discovery opened the floodgates. Internal emails revealed Fox hosts and executives privately mocking the very election fraud claims they were platforming. They called Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell crazy. They expressed contempt for the conspiracy theories. But on air, they amplified those same voices because they were terrified of losing their audience to even more extreme outlets. The disconnect between the private mockery and the public amplification was the smoking gun that proved actual malice. The case settled for $787 million rather than face a jury. That same law firm, by the way, DLA Piper, is representing Fox in this case. DLA Piper also represents Donald Trump in his various defamation battles, including the E. Jean Carroll appeals. This is the same playbook, the same legal machinery trying to protect both Fox and Trump from accountability for their words. The overlap is telling. The law firm is deeply embedded in defending the architecture of disinformation that props up both the network and the former president. They tried to get this case thrown out, arguing that defending the suit in Delaware would be a hardship, that Fox resides in New York and should not have to face justice in its state of incorporation. Judge Lugg was not impressed. He found that Fox will not suffer any hardship defending itself in Delaware. The state you choose to incorporate is the state where you answer for your conduct. That is the price of doing business. You want the legal benefits of Delaware incorporation? You take the legal accountability that comes with it. The judge concluded his ruling with language that should send a chill down the spine of every Fox executive. At this stage, under the facts set forth in the complaint and under reasonable inferences, recovery is conceivable. Meaning it is conceivable that Gavin Newsom is going to win this case and collect damages, substantial damages, potentially $787 million in damages. And this finding holds even when viewed through the more discerning lens applied to defamation claims involving public officials, which is the highest standard in defamation law. Newsom cleared the bar. The case lives. So, what happens now? The case enters discovery. Lawyers for Gavin Newsom are going to descend on Fox News with the ferocity of a proctological examination, as one legal commentator colorfully put it. They are going to demand every email, every text message, every internal communication about the Newsom segment. They are going to depose Jesse Waters, forcing him to sit under oath and explain why he left out the context that would have exonerated Newsom, why the Chiron branded him a liar, and what the internal discussions looked like before and after the segment aired. They are going to depose John Roberts, who will have to explain his interaction with Donald Trump on Air Force One, what Trump showed him, what Trump said, and why he ran with the story he did. They are going to depose producers, bookers, executives, anyone who touched that story. And critically, there is a real possibility that Donald Trump himself could face a deposition. After all, Trump is the source of the false claim about the date. He is the one who spoke to Newsom. He is the one who showed the call log to Roberts. If Newsom's lawyers can demonstrate that Trump's statements are central to understanding what Fox knew and when they knew it, they will drag him under oath. Imagine that scene. Donald Trump, deposed in a defamation case, having to answer questions under penalty of perjury about a phone call with Gavin Newsom. The walls are closing in from every direction. Fox is now trapped in a procedural nightmare. The judge's ruling is highly unlikely to be overturned on an interlocutory appeal, which is an appeal before the case is finished. Delaware law makes it extraordinarily difficult to get that kind of early review. You are locked in with this judge, in this court, until the case reaches its conclusion or until a settlement is reached. And Fox knows exactly how this ends if they let it go all the way. They have lived this nightmare before. Dominion bled them for $787 million after a cascade of devastating internal emails became public. The settlement was not just about money. It was about avoiding the humiliation of a public trial where their entire business model of outrage and disinformation would be dissected before a jury. This case has the exact same architecture. A public figure accusing Fox of deliberate lies, a mountain of internal communications waiting to be exposed, a judge who has already signaled that the allegations are legally sufficient, and a damage figure that mirrors the last time Fox tried to lie its way out of accountability. For Gavin Newsom, this is more than a lawsuit. It is a statement. He came on this program last year and laid out exactly what this moment required. He said that Donald Trump is a keyboard warrior who talks tough in bizarre press conferences, but never confronts his opponents directly. He described that Friday night phone call in vivid detail. Trump did not talk about the National Guard deployment. He did not discuss the crisis in Los Angeles. He wanted to brag about his nickname for Newsom, calling it pretty original, pretty funny. He wanted to talk about his MAGA hats, his brand, how many he had sold. Newsom was incredulous on the call, asking if they were seriously having this conversation while Trump was supposed to be coordinating a military response. The call was surreal, a window into the mind of a man more concerned with branding than governance. And then Fox twisted that call into a cudgel to beat Newsom with, accusing him of lies when he was simply recounting the bizarre reality of what actually happened. Newsom has decided not to let this slide. He is fighting back, and the judge has now given him the green light to take the fight all the way. The broader implications of this ruling are profound. It reinforces the principle that media outlets cannot simply manufacture false narratives and hide behind the protections of the First Amendment. There is a line between opinion and factual falsehood, between commentary and defamation, and Fox is repeatedly being found on the wrong side of that line. The Dominion settlement was supposed to be a wake-up call. It was the largest defamation settlement in American media history. The message was clear: lie about demonstrable facts, and you will pay an existential price. But Fox appears to have learned nothing. Less than 2 years later, they are facing an almost identical lawsuit with an almost identical damage claim. The pattern of behavior is unmistakable. Find a target. Construct a false narrative. Amplify it across multiple shows. Ignore the evidence that contradicts the narrative. Brand the target as a liar. When sued, argue that the details do not matter and that the First Amendment protects everything. Watch that defense get shredded by a judge who can read plain English and see the chyron that literally says, lies. Judge Lugg's ruling also carries significant political weight. Gavin Newsom is a national figure, widely discussed as a potential future presidential candidate. This lawsuit establishes that he is willing to stand up and fight against the disinformation machine that has poisoned American politics. Whether you agree with his politics or not, the willingness to hold media outlets accountable for deliberate falsehoods is a stance that transcends partisanship. The left and the right both suffer when the truth becomes a casualty of ratings wars. A victory in this case would set a precedent that public officials do not have to simply absorb malicious lies as the cost of being in the arena. They can push back, they can demand accountability, and they can win. The next several months are going to be a legal pressure cooker. Documents are going to start leaking. Depositions are going to be scheduled. The internal culture of Fox News is going to be laid bare once again. And this time, the world is watching with fresh eyes. Eyes that have already seen what Fox's private conversations look like when they are forced into the public docket. The question is not whether this case will be ugly for Fox. It is how ugly it will get and how much it will cost them. The judge has opened the door. Now the discovery process is going to blow that door off its hinges. For everyone who believes that truth still matters, that words have consequences, and that even the most powerful media empire in the country can be held to account, this is a major victory. The rule of law is holding. The courts are doing their job. And Gavin Newsom just got one massive step closer to a $787 million reckoning. We will continue to follow every twist and turn of this fast-moving story right here.